Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, coming to you live from our studio here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu-Date. Coming up this evening, government rejects claims that former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu was subjected to an unfair removal process. We will hear from the Office of the Attorney General in a jiffy. Also tonight, New Patriotic Party formally petitions the Inspector General of Police, the IGP, to arrest and investigate two senior members of the NDC over alleged death threats and acts of violence during the Akwatia by-election. And later in the bulletin, Iyoko's Surveillance and Asset Recovery Unit picks up LPG presidential candidate Kofi Akpalu. And before we go, we'll bring you the latest regarding Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association rendering an apology to Health Minister Kwabena Akando over derogatory remarks in the wake of the Ridge Hospital scandal. Details of all of these and more coming up shortly. Do stay with us. We always love to hear from you, so do let your messages come in on our Facebook page where we are also streaming. So just look for 3FM on Facebook and we will be happy to hear from you. We have Crystal with us to give us the latest in terms of summaries of the news. Hello, Crystal.
Hi, Martin. Thank you very much. And tonight in our summaries, heartfelt scenes unfold as families reunite with loved ones following President John Mahama's decision to grant amnesty to 998 prisoners. The touching video showed an emotional inmate in a wheelchair overwhelmed by the moment. Soon after his release, prisoners at Kumasi Central Prison reunited with their families in scenes filled with tears and gratitude. Now, the leadership of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has rendered an unqualified apology to the Health Minister Kwabena Akando for the recent comment on his person. General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Dr. David Tinkrang-Krum, in an interview on a sister station, made some derogatory and unprintable remarks against the minister. The minister graciously accepted the apology and encouraged the association to prioritize dialogue and constructive engagement with the government. In other stories, the Minister of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation, Sam Nati George, has issued a September 6 deadline to suspend the license of MultiChoice Ghana operators of DSTV should they fail to reduce subscription prices. Speaking on the sidelines of the Digital Africa Summit in Accra, Sam George stressed that government is committed to ensure Ghanaian consumers get fair prices. Well, you already know the ministry has imposed a daily fine of 10,000 Ghana cedis on MultiChoice for failing to submit critical pricing data. As of today, Wednesday, September 3, the company owes about 150,000 Ghana cedis in accumulated penalties. Just before we go, President John Dramani Mahama has urged contractors working on the Ofanko in Sanwam Road project to stay on schedule and ensure the project is completed by the end of the second quarter of 2026. During a working visit to the construction site on Wednesday, Mr. Mahama, who was accompanied by the Minister of Roads, expressed optimism about progress on the long-delayed projects, but emphasized the need to maintain momentum and minimize disruption to motorists. We've got this and a lot more on our website, 3news.com. Martin, over to you.
Thank you very much for the news summaries. Now let's go into the details of the stories. The government is rejecting claims that former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu was subjected to an unfair removal process. Retired Chief Justice Sofa Ekufu yesterday described the entire removal process as unnecessary.
This has so weakened the institution of the judiciary. It's not so much the individual who occupies their position. It is the institution. That is what I'm concerned about.
I mean, what informs the conclusion that it's an unnecessary process? I mean, we have heard even government spokesperson make the point that a petition was sent, a committee in line with the constitution was set up. They've looked into the matter and they've come to a conclusion. Which aspect of it, what specifically makes that necessary?
I think that, you see, there has always been something wrong with Article 146, and particularly with the procedure that it sets out, and especially as it regards the position of the Chief Justice. In the Ajay case, I took the opportunity to reflect on that weakness that I noticed, and are these and these are not so, to me, they lack the gravity. They lack the gravity that would lead to a grave outcome, such as the removal of the head of an institution of justice. I've deliberately phrased myself that way. It trivializes the position, and I wonder what this is going to lead to further on along the line, because every judge is fair game and every Chief Justice is also fair game.
I mean, is that to suggest that you suspect there could be a ripple effect in that?
Oh, definitely.
Any matter...
It's not suspect. I foresee, not tomorrow, maybe not next year, maybe not in 5 years' time, but along the line, yes, unless those provisions are dealt with effectively in a revised constitution.
Maybe a more direct question. I have seen the letter that was written by the Secretary to the President to the former Chief Justice.
And that's the other thing. A warrant, a person holding a presidential warrant, that's what the position is. You become Chief Justice because you have received a presidential warrant. You can receive all kinds of letters that you are hereby appointed, but if you don't have that warrant, does that make you Chief Justice? Yeah, okay. So if you're removing the person from the position, is it a subordinate who signs the letter? Is that the way it's supposed to be done? That's just by the way, food for thought.
Yeah, but I've seen a warrant as well signed by His Excellency the President. So
why are they showing us that one? I've been receiving all kinds of messages, and every one of them is only bringing out that letter. And in any case, is it polite? Is it proper that it should be a subordinate who writes a letter of removal to a Chief Justice? Really?
And so that's the voice of Madam Sophia Ekufu, who herself is a former Chief Justice. And she was having that interview with my colleague Joseph Akable. The full interview is on our YouTube channel, so you can log on and then also get a better and further understanding of how the conversation went. But clearly, she disagrees with the entirety of the process that led to the removal of Madam Gertrude Tokonu, who until recently was Ghana's Chief Justice. So varied reactions have been coming in regarding this removal. One of them is coming from the Office of the Attorney General. Deputy Attorney General Justice Fremsai has been responding to the comments of Madam Sophia Ekufu. Let's listen to him.
As have been, if you're able to demonstrate that the person in office has been incompetent, if you're able to prove that the person has misconducted him or herself, or that the person is infirmity of mind and body, that is the principle in the Constitution. 3 grounds. If you're able to satisfy any of the grounds, the person goes. And I wouldn't be looking at the fact that the person is coming with the president and is going with the president. And would you want a Chief Justice who has misconducted him or herself, or who is incompetent, to remain in office across presidents, or you want Chief Justices to be effective in their offices across presidents? I think that is where the question is. Do we want a certain standard to be kept, or we want just the person to be in the office for as long as we want. Don't you think that there's another side of this which would keep the occupants of the office on their toes? Because, for example, when I listen to the former Chief Justice, I get the impression that she herself probably had been doing some of these things when she was, or did some of these things when she was in the office, because clearly she didn't think it was a big deal, right? Let me ask you, is it a big deal to you? No, I want you to, is it a big deal to you? This, I mean, the allegation we've heard, which is not being denied by saying that it is just something small. Is it a big deal to you? If it is it? I want to know first.
I mean, to the extent that a committee has looked into it, I think what we have as a fact-finding matter is what a committee has put out there. But I'm asking you, in your assessment, a direct question, which I asked.
Let's summon this first. No, let's summon this first.
Yeah.
You see, the former Chief Justice is not saying that the allegation is false. Her position is that it doesn't meet the standards. It is normal. Let's let it go. Let it slide. Which gives me the impression that perhaps even when she was in office, probably she was doing the same thing. You know, and I'm asking you.
I mean, that would just be an assumption that you
that is clearly an assumption. That's why I said it's an impression.
Do you think the former Chief Justice got a fair trial, if I'm to put it that way?
It is fair, because personally I was involved in. I conducted all the cases in defense of the Attorney General, in defense of the committee. I was the one in court. And my argument has been one that is fair. It is legal. It is fair. It is reasonable. It meets all the constitutional standards for administrative, inquiry.
And you heard the words of Justice Sremsai, Ghana's Deputy Attorney General, who has been responding to Madam Sophia Akuffo, former Chief Justice, on the processes that led to the removal or dismissal of Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu. So many reactions have been coming in, like we indicated. Well, the latest regarding reactions as to whether or not the Chief Justice had erred in any of her dealings when she was active Chief Justice is that she went to the ECOWAS court. She escalated the issue to the ECOWAS court, and following the letter that was released on Monday about her eventual dismissal, she has activated the protocols of the ECOWAS court, asking them to expedite their decision in how they intend to deal with Ghana. So Christabel is with us and would walk us through the specifics of what the Chief Justice is seeking from the ECOWAS court.
So this is what the former CJ is seeking from the courts in this fresh move. One, an order that the plaintiff or applicant, which is a former CJ, has made out a case entitling her to the reliefs sought in the originating application. She's also seeking that an order entering a default judgment in favor of the plaintiff or applicant, which is a former CJ, due to failure of the defendant or respondent, which is the Republic of Ghana, to file a defense, and for such order or any orders as this court may deem fit. Now, somebody might be asking, what are her main concerns? Now, one, court rules require responses to case to be filed within 30 days. Also, the Republic of Ghana has failed, neglected to file a defense within the timeline given. This means the Republic of Ghana has abandoned the right to file a defense. Martin, the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Sremsai, has been explaining why Ghana is yet to file a response to the case filed by the former Chief Justice at the ECOWAS court.
Our preliminary thought is that if we are objecting to the jurisdiction of the court, and the court has taken argument and has adjourned to give a ruling one way or the other, we do not exactly think that we have to file on the substantive issue, because the question before the court is whether the court has jurisdiction. The court has to clear that aspect first, and when it says that it has jurisdiction to assume, then they will order us to file our defense. And indeed, if the court was interested in getting the court could have ordered that we should file our defense together with our preliminary objection, because we were heard. It's not as if we argued that matter in court, in the ECOWAS court, and we were heard. And the court in adjourning didn't give any further direction. They told us that they are rising, and then they have adjourned the case, indefinitely, And when they come back, they will give us further directions. So we were waiting for the court to give us further direction, only to be served with a notice for default of defense. So that is where we are at the moment.
So what are the next steps? You'll be applying for that to be thrown out as well?
Yeah, we would have to file to oppose the application for default judgment because, like I've explained, the court did not order us to file our defenses.
You're a legal scholar yourself. I mean, the outcomes of that court decision, we know how our jurisprudence operates. Does not, even if we sign treaties, it do not automatically become law here. I mean, the outcome of the decision, whatever decision will come from the court eventually, how do you see it playing out here in Ghana?
Yeah, so currently, because the ECOWAS court has not been incorporated into our legal system, the decisions of the courts are sent in to us here in the Attorney General's Department, and it's an executive. Within the framework of government, we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The fundamental principle is that in dualist countries like Ghana, the courts do not see international agreement unless they have been, ratified by Parliament into domestic law. Then the courts can see it. So the Supreme Court, technically speaking, cannot see whatever, or is unable. All the courts in Ghana are, let me put it literally, they are unable to see what is happening in ECOWAS because we have not domesticated the ECOWAS. However, governments can decide, that is, when I say government, I mean the executive. When it is served on us, the government of Ghana as the executive may decide what to do with the decision. And that is not to say that I have predicted what government of Ghana would do. Government of Ghana would decide whether to grant the award, or, if the court grants the award, whether to pay or not to pay. Whichever way, the ECOWAS courts can hold the government of Ghana to not comply with the decision because we have signed an agreement. So at the international level, the ECOWAS court is also not aware of the divisions we have in Ghana's executive, legislature, judiciary. They are aware of government, Ghana as a country. So if they give a decision in that court, as far as they are concerned, the decision must be implemented. If we do not implement it, it could be enforced at the ECOWAS court. But the court of Ghana are not aware of these things. I'm saying it in a very vivid form. They are not aware, or they don't have what it takes to see what's happening in ECOWAS because Parliament has not yet opened their eyes to what's happening in ECOWAS. So it's a dualist situation. We have domestic law, we have international law. A lot can happen there without coming into domestic law.
A more direct, simple question for an ordinary man. In the event the court, one of the preliminary measures she was asking for was that she should be reinstated when the suspension was enforced. If the court says she should be reinstated, what will happen?
We'll cross the bridge when we get there.
And so that is Justice Fremsai, Dr. Justice Fremsai, Ghana's Deputy Attorney General, responding to questions from Joseph Akable, my colleague here. Let's go to the phone lines now. We've been joined by the former director of Ghana School of Law, Mr. Kweku Ansah-Asare. Mr. Ansah-Asare, good evening and thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, my brother. Thanks for having me on show.
Right. There are a number of things to unpack here, but let's start from the former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo's thoughts that she shared on the process that the government undertook that led to the removal or dismissal of Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. She believes that the entire process was flawed or shouldn't have happened in the first place. You agree with her or have a different opinion?
Well, I hold a different opinion. As I said this morning, I don't want to comment on the substance of the argument. My comment is therefore limited to the issue as to what she did, was appropriate or inappropriate. As a member of the Council of State, she has subscribed to two oaths, the oath of member of Council of State and the oath of secrecy. And both oaths are binding on her. And the effect of the subscription is that she's going to abide or observe the oath. And one of the fundamentals is that she will not, in any other situation or circumstance, share views expressed at their meetings, or otherwise. Now he, is out there in public, trying to sort of dissociate herself, from the consensus that the Council of State reached, when they were considering the petition. Now, whether she agreed, with the majority or not, because, a consensus binding on each and every member of the Council of State. So it lies in a mass to come out, and take a contrary position. I mean, that is not good governance. And it doesn't show maturity, to say that, because as a former Chief Justice, she remains a justice in retirement. And one of the judicial oaths that she also subscribed to was to uphold and defend the Constitution of Ghana. And if the president, has acted in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, and she doesn't like, the outcome, it is not for her, to go public and sort of, run amok, on the process. A respectable Chief Justice will not do that, So that is, where I am coming from. That's why this one I said she has nodded a little. Former Chief Justice of Kufu is a very eminent, distinguished, and respectable, former Chief Justice. One of Ghana's pride, and therefore she should be the last person to do what she did this morning. I would have thought that she would have declined any invitation, to go on air and attempt, to say that she was in complete disagreement, with the majority of members of the Council of State. That's why, I said that
right.
She should be reprimanded by the Council.
I agree that you said she had sworn the oath of secrecy, but looking at the public nature of this particular issue and the kind of interest it has generated, if she held an opinion that was contrary to what the entirety of the Council of State had held, it wasn't. It shouldn't be out of place for her to share it. Do you agree?
There are conventions, that bind governance. It's not only the Constitution. We have conventions. And, one such convention is that, if you belong to an association or a society or a board, and the board has taken a decision, in this case, the Council of State, mind you, the petitions were forwarded to the Council of State. It remains a member of the Council. And, we are told that in consultation with the President, the Council of State, expressed a certain view, on the sense of which the President and the Council said that the prima facie case had been made out. So when the President decided to set up the five-member committee, it was pursuant to the advice, by virtue of the consultation the President held with the Council of State. She is a Council, State member. Whether, she agreed with them or not, whether she attended the meeting or not, the consensus is binding on her. So she cannot, come out, and air her view, that, she doesn't agree, in the first place that there was even the need, for that. Whether she agrees or not is neither here nor there. And so much justice. Her views are very, very critical, to the comment that the Court of Public Opinion attracting public. And so, in order that our governance, leaders and those in leadership, would differentiate between, drawing a line, of least resistance, where they can go, where they can trade, and all that. Because, governance issues are very critical to the sustenance of our democracy.
Right.
So, if, we are going to allow, every member, of a governing institution or agency to express individual views on, what the collective, has decided, it is going to,
problematic.
lead to, a point of absurdity,
right.
if not, chaos and anarchy. You can then, every morning, look at what this person is going to say, what that person has had to say. So
Okay.
for me, what he did, is inappropriate to say the least.
Okay.
It was in bad taste, as she herself, tried to say that, the committee's approach was in bad taste. So her approach, is equally, in bad taste.
Right.
This is my view.
Certainly, very well appreciated. And the final bit of the conversation has to do with the fact that right on the back of the decision to finally dismiss Madam Gertrude Tokonu, she has gone back to the ECOWAS court asking that judgment be delivered in her favor because Ghana failed to respond in time to the concerns that were raised by the ECOWAS court following her filing of the case there. The Deputy Attorney General says that in as much as we are members of the ECOWAS, the final decision of ECOWAS is not entirely binding on us, or to some extent, it will have to go through a certain process before, if they have to be activated in Ghana, that be done. How does this come to you? The fact that first she has activated or asked the court to rule in her favor, and the Deputy Attorney General's response?
Okay. Former Chief Justice Tokonu's famous says the law is the law. So the Honorable Deputy Attorney General has indicated the position of government. And you see, I believe that in one of your shows, I did point out, that the ECOWAS action will not have, any binding effect, as a decision of the Supreme Court or the High Court or, the Superior Court of Judicature of Ghana will have. And, the ECOWAS mechanism is one, that is binding, in honor only. So it doesn't have that binding effect as such, unless, the president goes back to Article 75 of our Constitution, and ignites all the processes, that will be required in order to, make the ECOWAS decision, one that can bind Ghana and for the Ghana government or the Republic of Ghana, to be able, to do what is to be required. So as far as I'm concerned, the government stands, has the support of law. So that's it. But the second one, other one is a timeline. So if the applicant was given time to file, her processes, and she complied with that, and the respondent, that is the Republic of Ghana, was equally given a timeline and has not complied with it, then the failure to comply with the timeline will not to the benefit of the applicant, in this case, former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu, and therefore she has every right to file an application for judgment in default. However, judgment in default, is not a judgment on the merits of the case. So it is always able to be set aside at the instance of the respondent. the government can decide that may decide to file a response with the legal, the ECOWAS Commission, and the judgment may not be granted. But even if it is granted and that's why an application for extension of time within which to file a response,
Right.
it will not be pronounced. So it could, unfortunately,
unfortunately, Council, the line isn't too clear at the moment, but we are grateful for for making time to speak with us. Thank you so much for this evening, Mr. Ansasari. Right, we've been speaking to Kweku Ansasari, who is the former director at the Ghana School of Law, sharing his thoughts on how all of the issues surrounding Madam Gertrude Torkornoo has played out in the last 48 hours, with the latest being the fact that she has asked the ECOWAS court to rule in her favor, following the fact that Ghana failed to file within time when the ECOWAS court had asked it to bring specific information regarding why she was being investigated as Chief Justice. This is still 3FM 92.7. Now, Anna Nijinde, a private legal practitioner, has also been sharing his perspective on the default judgment that the Chief Justice is seeking at the ECOWAS court. He spoke earlier on Midday News.
Well, what I'm saying is that from the very beginning, receiving the petition, submitting it to President in consultation with Council of State, setting up a committee, those processes are in order. But when it came to the sitting of the committee, the processes that they adopted, some of them are very questionable. Some of them are very questionable because they started the processes even without notifying the Chief Justice as to the charges being brought against her. Even the people petitioning against her, she did not know them until she made this public announcement, and then she was served with those documents. I mean, if I'm to appear before a court, I have to be served. I have to be put on notice. Look, Mr. A, Mr. Y, or Mr. Z is suing you for this particular reason. When the Council of State, their role is advisory. They're supposed to counsel the President on some of these matters. And the Council of State, they work as a body. So if at that level she did not agree, she would have made her point there. But that does not take away her right to express an opinion on an important legal issue such as this.
And that is Anna Nijinde, who is a private legal practitioner. Let's go on to the big story that happened in the country. I mean, you'd recall that a lot of attention was on Akwatia yesterday. Now, on the back of the victory of the NDC, some issues were recorded on the sidelines of the election, of the by-election that finally elected the NDC's candidate to represent the good people of Akwatia in Parliament. The NPP has been reacting and have asked the IGP to take some moves. What exactly are they seeking, Crystal?
Well, in a petition dated today and signed by the NPP's General Secretary, Justin Kodua Frimpong, the party accused Chief Sofo Azoka, the NDC's first national vice chairman, and Alhaji Abdul Wahab Amadu, Ibuakwa North Constituency Communication Officer, of threatening to kill the minority leader, Alexander Apenyo Marking, the NPP's national organizer, Henry Nana Boache, and in Samwam Edwidre MP, Frank Anodopre. The petition further alleged that the NPP's third national vice chairman, Alhaji Osman Masawudu, was physically assaulted by Chief Azoka and a group the NPP described as notorious hoodlums. The party urged the IGP to act swiftly by arresting and interrogating those captured in videos of the incident, which are currently circulating in the media. We're going to go over to the phone to speak with Deputy General Secretary Mustafa Bande. Martin.
Certainly, and Mr. Bande has joined us. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations to you and the party as well.
I'm here. Hello.
Hi, Mr. Bande. I was congratulating you for the victory from yesterday.
Thank you very much.
And on the back of that, the NPP says that the acts of one of the leadership, one of the members of the NDC, that's Chief Sofo Azoka, should be arrested. They want the IGP to arrest Chief Azoka and also the Ibuakwa North Constituency Communications Officer of your party, because some acts they undertook nearly marred the entire process. You agree with them, wouldn't you?
Well, thank you very much for having me And I think that yesterday's election was largely very peaceful, and we need to appreciate that fact. However, I think that there are some members of the MPP, particularly Akwatia Markens himself, came under the pretext of trying to be provocative. Because for me, it is over the bar to walk into a party, a political party's office, unprovoked, to tear posters. It is wrong. It's a wrong political culture. It's provocative enough to lead to any possible problems. But we had urged our members to try and stay above some of these temptations. He didn't just end there. He did other things where his bodyguards were taking pictures of NDC members in at Wenchi. It is also wrong. So you see, when the grassroots, we've managed both ends to refrain from violence, to refrain from being unlawful, and you have a leader of minority coming to descend to this level such that it becomes provocative in a very volatile election, then he ought to know that his conduct was wrong. I'm not saying that at the back of that gives anybody the right to take the law into their hands. If there's any reason why a poster should not be at a particular place, the managers of the election, as far as security is concerned, was the police. Akwatia Markens and his force would have reported that to the police, and the police would have done their work. But to put the law in their hands, go and tear NDC candidates' posters is provocative, it's wrong enough, and we ought to condemn this behavior of Akwatia Markens in all uncertain terms, that it is becoming unbecoming that wherever he goes, wherever he is, he tries to attract unnecessary attention to himself as if he is a lady or as if he is a last-born girl who must be given attention every day. It's wrong.
Mr. Gbande, I'm sure ladies and women might take exception to this analogy that you put across. But
it is not for the bad reasons. Every woman likes attention. Our daughters who are last born, they like attention. Akwatia Markens is not one of them. He is a man, a grown man, a leader of minority, who is a lawyer. How can a lawyer be involved in this kind of behavior? How can a politician of his stature be involved in this unacceptable public conduct? That you go and tear off a political party's, posters. I am not saying that whatever would have happened, whatever reactions followed was lawful or unlawful, because I wasn't there. But I'm saying what I know that he has done is wrong enough.
Okay, so
I wouldn't go to MPP office to tear their posters.
Certainly. Are you saying that the reaction of Chief Sofo Azoka was, or what Chief Sofo Azoka did was in reaction to the tearing down of posters by the NPP officials?
I cannot link the two or delink the two until we all hear the vice chairman speak, until we all hear Masaudu, until we all hear Akwatia Markens. We cannot know the entire facts of the matter. But I'm just saying that these didn't happen at the level of the grassroots. It happened involving senior officers, minority leader, a vice chairman of one party, and a vice chairman of another party. I believe that at that level, when we engage, we'll be able to get to that level where it doesn't repeat itself, or we'll be able to resolve it. A vice chairman and a vice chairman has issue, we should be able to resolve it. A vice chairman has an issue with a minority leader, we should be able to resolve it. Since it didn't involve the grassroots, I think we must commend the grassroots of both the MPP and the NDC for the comport, the orderly behavior, and the excitement that, despite some people have lost and others have won, ensue the whole process. That it is rather the leaders who have gotten themselves into this. And I cannot condemn one thing or the other without listening to what provoked or what led the vice chairman to have made some of these statements. But I'm just saying the MPP must also avail themselves for the law to work. When we went to their 1 week funeral, the celebration of an excommunication 1 week, they ransacked us, trying to beat us,
That is also criminal. Have we arrested anybody? Apenyo Markins slapped a police officer. He's not been arrested up to date. Apenyo Markins used the military to beat your own journalists, your own co-workers. All of you sat in this country and kept quiet as if he is bigger than anybody else. Didn't you know the recent time that a police officer assaulted a journalist, all of you were talking about it. None of you remembered that unruly behavior of Apenyo Markins. Today we are talking about him feeling threatened. Me, even though I'm not supporting that, Apenyo Markins has the right to complain. Others do not have the right. Your journalist colleagues do not have the right. Police officer he slapped doesn't have the right. IGP couldn't arrest him. Apenyo Markins is bigger than anybody in this country.
Okay,
is that what we are saying?
So talking about what happened yesterday, and it is in order that we all commend constituents of Akwatia and also the both sides of the political divide. But you would agree that from the video we saw and how the scuffle nearly broke out between Sofa Azoka and Masaudu, it could have marred the beauty of the entirety of the elections. You wouldn't agree?
Please, I'm saying that I am happy. You saw some of us engaging with MPP executives. It was all to de-escalate, to get away with the tension, because our focus was that we should be able to do a fair election without violence. And I am happy that at my level, we're able to manage the people below us. These things occurred between MPP General Secretary and Apenyo Markins on one side, MPP Vice Chairman on another side, and an NDC National Vice Chairman on another side. These are high-level officers. So I should be commending the ones below for not doing anything that can mar election, but holding the ones who should have avoided these kind of things responsible. And I'm just saying that because these are chairmen, national vice chairman, minority leader, we can engage at the top and try and de-escalate this situation and move on, instead of trying to say that the whole exercise was not the best because of these selected incidents. We must commend the police for also doing their job, because they actually ensured that all of us, the professionalism that they exhibited in this election, for me, is unprecedented, and we must commend them.
Absolutely. And I would want to say thank you for your time this evening, and definitely will be engaging you in the coming days on other matters. Mustafa Bande, Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress there. So this is still Hot Edition on 92.73 FM. Do let your thoughts come in. We'll be happy to share them with the rest of the world. But you would recall that yesterday the entire country's focus was on development in the Akwatia constituency, where at the end of the day, the NDC's candidate won and would be representing the good people of Akwatia in Parliament. And here at your Election Command Center, we brought you full coverage right from 7 in the morning when voting started up until the final moments when the NDC candidate Bernard Baidu was declared winner. Very little has been heard from the NPP's candidate, but of course, he as one that lost or contested in the election and lost. Many would say that they thought that by now they would have heard either a concession message or a congratulatory message from him, but nothing has been heard as of now. What we have heard from the camp of the NPP is that statement condemning the acts of Chief Sofa Azoka, where in a conversation with Masaudu of the NPP, they seem to have, a near fisticuff. And if that had gone further, it definitely would have drawn unnecessary negative light to the entirety of the voting, the by-election in the area. So we would also let you know what else has been happening. But let's first of all listen to some of the constituents in Akwatia, of what they expect of the Member of Parliament-elect Bernard Baidu now that he has been given the green light to go to Parliament.
Let's speak to another person, and he says that they are thankful that it's been very peaceful. The Member of Parliament, they are happy that he's won, but they are asking that the developments be important, else he will not survive in the 2028 elections. Boss, also Wadrin Chefahon is saying, Yashe Stella about one koye Wadrin Muyino.
Madrin is saying, I'm saying about one. Yedi nim say about 1 year 2 year 2024 ni nim say NDC yedi nkunim but your opponent today MPP for no na omo pese omo de ehunu bi ni ade bi shem and so Akwatia no first na me pass 6 polling station during Baba Jama time no I this confusion ba na Akwatia MP both MPP NDC ye ba ko te say NDC ni so on MPP ni kra ya ade a ka say bibi say but cranfo no na omo de good social media no so ya ade bi say ntokwa na ade but Akwatia ntesa Akwatia ntesa na ya dase ya da police for na se pa mo IGP abaye Akwatia no ya da na se wa ma ya nte basabasa bia na momo abato na ye to ye no ya da Akwatia ma nyina ase e che say o hwe Bernard Bedi Akobedu ene Asemedu a difference no oni ehun ni say obetimi lead Akwatia e ye Bernard Bedi Akko ana nyame anso adom so yetimi di aba no ama no na momo mpa ne ye bo ama no onyanko na mputuduma Akwatia nya no since 92 development be Akwatia be NDC peace na deba development be for the past Akufo administration 8 years nothing anything no campaign omu nya message bia emfa ma ye campaign ka sem papa kire no mu ye entinu ye de ni enim say Bernard Bedi Akobedu de ya kwam bia so Akwatia for beto aba man because ye Akwatia enya mpuntuo o ye Akwatia town roads ni nyina ebu bie ni wa papa from main gate to Kedekwanso ene ye kota atu Akwatia ene ye kota dia ka nyina eye rough road ati yesre Bernard Bedi Akobedu enim se John Dramani Mahama obeye yesre no se onye Akwatia na mpuntuo no embra na odimpuntuo no ba ono de me se Akwatia city no wafa so to be mpuntuo ba nko ade a Akwatia city no wafa.
And he as well expressing a similar sentiment and saying that he believed Bernard Bedi Akobedu was going to win, and that as a supporter of the NDC, he's a taxi driver here as well. They development which has been ringing quite loudly here. Mommy, yemfa also intratwo wadwen chefa ni akoso nyina so ene de we.
Yo, do na na me nua be manaka. Am so kakra me de be ka ho ni say, yeda Ewurade ase. So ma bibia nsi yeda ye ma mpanin so ase. Say wa ma bambofo abebo ye ho ban. Ma bibia wi asumdwe mu a ya ntin atenka boni bia. Ye hu say no pe ye omo kwa Ewurade fo mo kodu asumdwe mu. Na esre ye papa ya to abama ni say ye pa ni chonfa so ye oyo se ne de odo ato abama no eyi no omla nombe ye mba ni yesko ejuma bie ni onom nam se be hu na onyem be ma so me na fe de no ohyehyehye ti esre na ni die mu a se Ewurade oni ye papa nkambom no mo be ye mpontu dwuma bi wa ha ma kwa no SS krampo no nyanya enko university obe ye bibi kakra na ono so de aboa ne ho se be ya enkwala na bra bomba mba ye basa ti esre mo ni die mu a ye da na si bebre.
So you heard the voice of some constituents in Akwatia who are asking the Member of Parliament-elect Bernard Bedu to ensure that he delivers on the promises he made to them now that he's heading to Parliament. That's it for the main news. Time now for business with Bismarck Wusa, who has joined us. So do stay tuned for the latest in the world of business.
Development.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
And then to the constituency and the entire nation as a whole. So
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Kausa. Coming up tonight, government piles pressure on MultiChoice Ghana as Communications Minister Samuel Nate George sets September 6 deadline for 30% subscription reduction, warning of possible license withdrawal. This story and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The Minister of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations, Samuel Nate George, has given MultiChoice Ghana, operators of DSTV, up to September 6 to reduce subscription charges by 30% or risk losing its license. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details. Digital Africa Summit in Accra, the Minister said the directive takes immediate effect on 6th of September 2025. Stressing that government is committed to ensuring fair pricing for consumers in line with the country's improving macroeconomic conditions. Sam George disclosed that MultiChoice has failed to comply with the repeated requests from the National Communications Authority, NCA, to submit pricing data as required under the Electronic Communications Act. He added that the company has already accumulated fines of up to 170,000 cedis after ignoring earlier directives. Government is expected to meet the pay TV operator in the coming days, but the minister warned that without a 30% reduction in subscription fees, MultiChoice could face shutdown. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Moving on, inflation for August 2025 continued its downward trend, reaching a 4-year low of 11.5%. This marks the 8th consecutive month of decline, slowing from 12.1% in July 2025. Government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu attributes the drop to a significant slowdown in the prices of food and other essential items, signaling a decrease in the inflationary pressures that have been impacting the economy.
Inflation for August 2025 was 11.5%. This means that prices today are 11.5% higher than they were in August 2024. Most importantly, it is the 8th consecutive month of decline and the lowest inflation we've observed since October 2021. In July, inflation was 12.1%, and in December, inflation was 23.8%. So you can see that there is a sharp downward trend with regards to inflation movements. That shows a sustained easing of price pressures.
And that was government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu indicating that Ghana's inflation hits 4-year low in August, declining for 8th consecutive month to 11.5%. And that brings us to the end of the business news on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Kausa. For more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Thank you for staying with us here on 3FM 92.7. Just before we go, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, has reportedly picked up the leader of the Liberal Party of Ghana, LPG, Kofi Akpalo, at his base in Kumasi. Sources say the dawn operation was conducted by EOCO's surveillance and asset recovery unit from the headquarters in Accra, working in coordination with the agency's Ashanti Regional Office. According to insiders, the arrest was carried out without incident, though the specific reasons for for the arrest remain unclear, the suspect is said to be on his way to Accra, where he is expected to assist investigators with ongoing inquiries. Iyoko has not yet released an official statement on the matter, and we'll keep our eye on this one very closely to bring you all the details here on 3FM 92.7. Thank you for staying with us here on Hot Edition. I did this with Martin Asiedu Date. My name is Christabel Success Trevor. Stay tuned because the 3FM Drive team is up next with Trigmatic.